What do we, how do I?
Oh, hey Doug, thank you. Very cold in here.
Maybe it started drinking.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I just got from might do more damage to the hopefully you land on the ears, but it's not as much. Bad news. I had a bumper trying to pull it. Hey, you're back. Because it has to be cool in here. Oh, they're really wide. Okay. Thanks. Oh, yeah, I mean, small thing. Yeah. Managing texting so that she can. Sorry. Well, I said, now it's on, now we're gonna go. Okay. Yeah, so, I think that time and continuity is. Yeah, she put it, I mean, she's not like, I don't know, a picture of like, you're like, recording or something, and she's like, oh, this is where I am right now. I was like, Those are, he is not,
He's like, hold on, I
Hold on.
I gotta sync it up.
I can't hear you. Oh, I can just hear your lips, see your lips moving.
I guess we could both go the same.
Yeah.
No. But I thought, but I was like, nah. I'm like, enjoy your time. Don't be the first to go out of here. She is gonna be watching. Yeah. Each in person or? He's getting out there. He never. Guess we'll just have to rely on nurses. Was he born in Calgary? Yeah, quite to the just bored forever. That's it. Are we ready? Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the closed session of the Hermosa Beach School Board for Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. I'm calling to order the closed session for this evening. Dinah, could you take the roll, please?
There we go. Board Member Barrow. Board Member Cluth.
Present.
Board Member Bove LaMonica.
Present.
Vice President Clerk Cole. Present. President Gardner.
Present.
4 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, Dinah. Well, next we'll move on to oral communications from the audience to the board. I'm not seeing anybody in the room. Do we have anybody on the virtual platforms?
No virtual online comments.
All right, closing then oral communications, and we will adjourn to closed session. Thank you, everybody.
Sure. I think that, I usually like the Friday vacation. I think I'm gonna close it. I can look. It's different for all groups. Yeah. It's like. No. Huh? Yeah. Karen, I'm glad you're thinking about it. No. No, because it. Yeah. I don't care how much you do this, I don't do it. And the people are there.
Presentation. Maybe your name. I invited, other board members as well to attend. But it's hard. Yeah. You would be home. Yeah. It's all.
Next time,
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the open session for the Hermosa Beach School Board for Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. We have nothing to report out of closed session. So I'm calling the open session to order. Dinah, will you please take the roll?
Board Member Barrow. Board Member Cluth.
Present.
Board Member Bove LaMonica.
Present.
Vice President Clerk Cole. Present. President Gardner.
Present.
4 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, Dinah. Everybody, please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We will now move on to approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Quinn, for the second. All in favor? Aye. The agenda is approved. We will now move on to announcements. Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Doug. First up, I'd like to invite Valley Student Council to come on up and give their report from Hermosa Valley.
All right. Hi, my name is Madison Young, and I'm the Student Council Vice President at Valley.
My name is Franklin Rogers, and I am one of the Student Council Activities Commissioners at Valley.
My name is James Stevens, and I'm one of the classroom representatives at Valley.
My name is Corey Soper, and I am one of the classroom representatives for Student Council.
And we are here to update you on what's happening at Valley.
Last month, the 8th grade students participated in their outdoor science camp at Astro Camp. They returned to school with smiles on their faces and lots of stories to tell. They had a blast.
Today, the 7th grade students began their first day of science camp at Simi Institute in Catalina. They will return on Friday, and we can't wait to hear about all the fun they had.
Last week, we held our second Spirit Games. It was a fun-filled day for students, staff, and parent volunteers. Students worked together on teams to compete in different events, such as dance-off, cornhole, an escape room, and an adventureplex. As of now, Team Red is in the lead. Everyone's looking forward to our third Spirit Games later this year.
Winter sports season is here, and our student athletes have had some great games against our South Bay friends. Next week, we will be the final games of our winter season. We hope to see you all there cheering on our Dolphins.
There are some exciting things happening in several classrooms around campus, and we would like to share some of those activities with you.
In STEAM and video production classes, students are making commercials for Hermosa Valley and just finished up their stop motion videos.
In Spanish class with Senor and Casino, students are choosing to either create skits in Spanish or write comic strips illustrating a restaurant scene with dialogue in Spanish.
Miss Lee's drama class has had a new set of students this trimester, and they have started to learn about Midsummer Night's Dream. The 8th graders are preparing 3-minute short films and currently writing the scripts before they start to film. We are excited to see their performances.
In 8th grade social studies with Miss Heath, students have taken their civics test and everyone passed.
Yay.
In 6th grade ELA classes, students finished writing their own fables.
In seventh grade ELA classes, students are begging the book Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry.
And in Ms. Rangel's 8th grade ELA classes, students are currently working on selecting their 3rd graders to pair up with to start their 3rd grade stories.
In the PE classes, 6th grade is playing hockey, 7th grade is playing soccer, and 8th grade is playing basketball.
And now for some other updates. The Science Olympiad regional competition is coming up on March 4th. The team is working hard to prepare for their competition by studying for their events and building models. We wish them luck.
In 8th grade In 8th grade updates, the 8th grade students are excited for their 8th grade Disneyland trip, which will be on March 1st. Also, Maricosta had an 8th grade informational night yesterday and has been providing tours for 8th graders. Update that actually did not happen. It was later date.
Next Wednesday, February 15th, Valley will be having their February flag ceremony.
And at the end of next week, we will recognize President's Week. There will be no school on Friday, February 17th, and Monday, February 20th. We hope everyone enjoys their nice long weekend.
Yay.
Thank you for letting us share what is going on in middle school at Valley. We look forward to updating you again next month.
Thank you. We look forward to it as well.
Thank you, Student Council. That was a great team effort there. I see a couple of Student Advisory Council folks in the group there. They drive a hard bargain, especially about lunch. Thank you all. You have a good night. All right. Get home safe. No trouble. All right. Next, I'd like to bring up Principal Overbeck. And I see we've got Nicole from PTO in the house as well too, to honor our friends from the library. Hillary, take it away. I got a certificate too. I'll come down.
Thank you. Good evening, board. We have special visitors with us today. I'd like to invite Robin and Catherine to come on up. This is Robin Lehrer and Catherine O'Connor from the Hermosa Beach Friends of the Library. And the reason they're here tonight is because they have contributed generously to our school libraries, Hermosa View, Vista, and Valley. And so I want to personally say thank you for your contribution to schools and your partnership and for supporting our libraries with books. They're already purchased and on the shelves, and from what I understand, already mostly checked out. I'd also like to invite Nicole Ellison to come on up and her two helpers, Luke and Claire, to express their gratitude.
So as parents of the district, all of us in the PTO are very thankful for the donation that you all made to our schools for our libraries. You're an example of generous giving to our children, and thank you for that. And our children get to practice gratitude based on your generosity. And Claire, who is in 4th grade, and Luke, who is in first grade, are our student representatives for tonight. And they have flowers to give to you to show our gratitude. students, but also all of our students across all 3 campuses made you a large thank you.
Oh my
Thank you posters. Thanking you for your donations. And so of all of our students in Hermosa and their gratitude for your donation and helping to build our libraries and make them better. So thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Doug and I signed ours.
Yeah.
Like to do is if we could have the board president come down and take a picture all together, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we would like a copy of that picture.
You're reading my mind. You get to walk away with a picture. Yeah. You with me? All right, let's put the people with the money in the middle. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
To do this.
Yeah.
The books that were.
I really appreciate it. I'm a big reader myself, so it means more than you know.
I'm an old teacher and, you know, the right books.
Yeah.
Getting the right books, that was so important. Be able to, the library, be able to put books to the kids when they need them.
Yeah.
Not 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, don't forget to note when you need that.
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll send you. Yeah, thank you so much.
And to all those community members out there, the bookstore that they run is behind the community center. I've stopped by and visited. It's the cutest little bookstore. It's run by volunteers. They're open Mondays and Fridays and some Saturdays. So I invite you and encourage you to go check it out.
All right, Hillary, don't go anywhere because you are up next to talk about personalized learning at Hermosa View and Vista.
Thank you. Is there a clicker for the slide as well?
You're asking too much, Hillary.
Board, thank you for having me here tonight. I'm here to discuss personalized learning at Hermosa View and Vista schools.
Let's go ahead and just call slides rather than use the clicker.
Jinxed, I'm sorry.
All right, slide. Thank you. Among the district's priorities in the areas of community, excellence, and inclusion is the goal of personalized learning. There are a ton of ways to think about personalized learning, so I'll share the definition that the leadership team has been working from. Personalized learning at its, slide. Personalized learning at its best seeks to accelerate student learning by tailoring the instructional environment, what, when, how, and where students learn, to address the individual needs and interests of each student. As we work toward this goal, there are some mindset shifts that need to take place. What a classroom looks like, how lessons are taught, the amount of time spent in whole group and small group instruction, what tools best support student growth, and ultimately an attentiveness to individual students. Slide. These mindset shifts start with professional development. Here you see 2 different structures of PD for View and Vista schools. On the left is the first grade team meeting with an iReady specialist to learn how to best utilize the program. And these kinds of half-day PDs are sprinkled throughout the year, for example, with iReady to analyze real-time student data, or with a literacy coach to calibrate assessment practices. On the right side of the screen is a joint View Vista staff meeting where our BCBA and school psychologist provided a training on trauma and behavior. You can see here Ashley Schwen, our View Vista school psychologist, teaching staff about neurological development in young children and the implications for the classroom. Slide. Personalized learning is about supporting all learners. Our View Vista students receive targeted instruction and intervention. In the classroom setting, this may look like teachers conducting leveled literacy intervention lessons, or one of our specialists like View librarian Ms. Myers, targeting foundational phonics skills with some of our kindergartners to provide additional opportunities to learn. Supporting all learners also means getting them up and active, engaged with real applications, as you can see on the right. In math, this often means using tangible manipulatives to explore mathematical concepts like number sense and measurement. Small group instruction is a key component of personalized learning because it allows for continual interactions with students throughout the lesson. At first glance, this may simply look like a whole group, like a few students watching a traditional whole group lesson, just in a smaller group size, but you'll notice how personalized this is if you look closely. So on the left here is a paraeducator reading a book to a small group of students, but the paraeducator recognizes that in order for some students to attend to the lesson, they benefit from something to fidget with, like a marble run to hold on to in the picture or a cushion to sit on. In the math lesson on the right, it's not a deliver and write down kind of lesson. Instead, the teacher is developing the concepts on the easel while the students are learning with whiteboards in their lap, sharing their knowledge, practicing, checking for understanding in an individualized way. These formats provide an easy access point for students to engage in an authentic reciprocal manner. Slide, please. Digital tools are a critical component of personalized learning as well. The district has established benchmark timelines for diagnostic assessments, such as iReady and Fontes and Pinnell. In iReady, students take diagnostic assessments through computer adaptive programs that pinpoint skills that students have mastered and areas of need. The data collected then allows teachers to tailor their instruction to build on knowledge in intentional ways. For example, the instructional grouping tool, if you can follow this small print here, generates suggestions for which students to group together based on shared needs in the diagnostic. And it then identifies instructional priorities and provides recommended lessons, tools, and resources for the teacher to meet those specific needs of those students. These kinds of student-centered lessons build off of established skills rather than a traditional whole group teacher-directed lesson. Slide, please. Another key component of personalized learning is flexible space and flexible seating, or standing, as you can see here on the far right. I think we've all experienced a rigid seating environment in a school, in a meeting, in an office, when sitting on a chair was a distraction for whatever reason, sitting too long, or it was hard plastic, or an uncomfortable backrest, the legs are too tall, the legs are too short, on and on. And so in this way, flexible seating is a way to move the focus back to the task at hand. I know when I read to my own two small children at home, we cozy up on the couch or lay on our stomachs on the floor. And I can't imagine having that same interaction sitting in a rigid chair at a dining table. So that's the idea behind flexible seating. And this flexible space means that supporting student growth by allowing them to redirect their attention to the task. Slide, please. Lastly, personalized learning incorporates students' own specific interests and a choice regarding the task at hand. We've recently launched watchdogs at all 3 campuses, and you can see how excited this little one is in the picture to read the book that she chose to an adult in a cozy place and have him focused on her growth in the moment. Student choice in the topics they write about and in the books they select for their book box affect their level of engagement and ultimately their level of growth, because kids learn best when their instructional environment is tailored to support them as individualized learners. And with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Principal Overbeck. Are there any questions on the board? Jen?
Great job, Hillary. That's a really great presentation and you just delivered it so nicely. So great, really great job. It's really great to listen to you about it. I was like, oh, tell me more. You did a really good job.
Come see it.
Yeah, no, I have. It is actually, this is true. This is happening. It's super exciting.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell me just on the digital tools front, is that something that is like, it's like something that the program offers, but we haven't actually used it yet? Or is that something we're actually using? Like, are teachers been doing their lesson plans for the week based off this digital tool information?
It's definitely something we're actually using. And part of the purpose of the ongoing PD is to check in with teachers, make sure they know how to use it, make sure that any problems they're encountering, stumbling blocks, they're troubleshooting and learning from and getting past. So teachers are definitely using the instructional groupings tool to target their lessons.
And have you gotten any feedback from them? Like, is that a tool that is like wow, that's like so helpful? Because to me, that's like, I'm like, whoa, that's amazing.
It's mind boggling.
Yeah.
And it's definitely valuable for the teachers.
And is this something that the iReady, whoever our literacy person that's coming in, our coach is like they know about, or they work for the company and they know how to highlight it?
The iReady coaches who come in are from iReady, and their whole life is teaching people how to use the tools in iReady and make sure they're checking in with teachers, boots on the ground, who have live data in front of them and knowing how to use the tools. The literacy coach that comes in is focusing on Heinemann's products and programs through Fontes and Pinnell. And similarly with the iReady groupings that offer math and reading groupings, the literacy coach is also working on establishing those productive instructional groups in the classroom.
And this digital tool is an iReady tool?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Saad, questions, Quinn?
I've got a question, a non-professional educator question, and a little bit leading. I vaguely recall that there was a lot of controversy around, I think they call them GATE programs, gifted, talented learning type programs, accelerated programs for advanced learners. I know that we also put a lot of time and resource into helping people who are struggling. Is personalized learning sort of the modern update to kind of GATE, so that students all across the spectrum of learning capabilities, depending on the subject, are getting kind of challenged?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Very leading question, but 100% true. And that's part of the beauty of iReady and Fontes and Pinnell and all of these personalized learning opportunities, is that it meets the learner where they are with similarly capable students, so they can all grow together at whatever the level that is. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Hillary.
Thank you very much, Board.
All right. We are moving on then to public comments, oral communications from the audience to the board. I don't see anyone here in the chambers. Is there anyone on the virtual?
No virtual comments.
All right. I love it. Quick. Easy. Moving on then to the superintendent update. Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, board. First off, winter athletics is going. I'm getting text messages from an RBUSD board member who's harassing me about outcomes of games. So Doug, can you please?
Yeah, it was not pretty for Hermosa yesterday.
Yeah, can you follow up about that? Because I don't know if you guys have like a secret club or something.
Ellie tried her hardest. I promise.
Yeah. I had the opportunity this week with the Wellness Council to tour the Student Wellness Lounge. It is something to see. I know Jen might have a thing or two to say about it, but just a major kudos to Principal Bledsoe and our counselor, Cassie Riley, and then the student leadership team who approved the funding for it. Great. I really enjoyed that. And I also just a big kudos to Valley. I mean, like, this is like a Valley invention. I joked as I can take zero credit for this other than I hired those two people. So just really proud of them. And like, they're just taking the wellness ball, so to speak, and running with it. Was at the Best of Hermosa. It was a really nice night for Hermosa. Maggie unfortunately did not win, and me and her stormed out angry of broken glasses on the way out. Yeah. No, Maggie was nominated along with Mark Member, and Raphael from Indivisible Arts. I mean, like, I can't think of like three like better people in this town to be nominated. Raphael took home the prize. That's the timing is just funny because, like, you know, Mark Member and Raphael are two of our biggest school partners in the community. So it's just a nice night for Hermosa in general. A lot of just positive in the air. And then kudos to Jessica Acamando, who's just doing amazing things with the chamber. And she's such a great partner for our schools. It's like she wants to work with us. I had the privilege of watching Nat Rocker, who is a Holocaust survivor, speak to our Hermosa Valley 8th grade students. They 2 weeks prior had attended the Museum of Tolerance. And so this was like the next step in they're doing work in their 8th grade ELA class as a unit. It was very powerful. Most of us were there. Lifetime opportunity. Mr. Rocker was extremely generous with his time, and his whole family was there too. I got to meet them all. Shelly, his son, I got to know very well. But just a really powerful day for our students. You know, I cannot think of a more powerful and I would say ultimately positive message than to hear about Mr. Rocker and like how he came out of that situation and like what he learned from it as well too. And he shared that with our students. So great day actually. Then tomorrow night, Sylvia, my date here, we'll be going to the fentanyl awareness movie night. Yeah, it's a thriller. So that'll be at Redondo Union High School. I just want to take a moment because we talked about it in Wellness Council. You know, fentanyl was something that, you know, like I had heard about, I had read about in the paper. And Sylvia went to a training and she came back and she's like, hey, this is serious. Like you need to take this seriously. And you know, I trust Sylvia, but Beach Cities did a thing and she's like, you got to go to this. So she had me go to this thing. And I came away pretty stunned. Fentanyl is, I call it sci-fi. You mean like because like that's how scary it is. And I just want to emphasize for anyone watching, I mean, like, and we put messaging out, we put social media out, but educate yourself about fentanyl, educate your kids about fentanyl. And fentanyl is harming people. It's not just users. It's people that are inadvertently taking fentanyl. I will give an example. There was a police officer who had an overdose because they were searching someone and their skin brushed up against fentanyl. And many of the deaths that are occurring are people that have no idea what they're taking. So I just can't emphasize enough that to educate yourself. There's a reason why, besides I like Sylvia's time, that we are going to tomorrow night's event because we want to support awareness in our community, not just Hermosa, but the South Bay in general. So we'll continue to put our heads together about how to get that messaging out. I understand that we're an elementary school district, but this is an important issue. And you will be showing some board policy tonight about some steps that we're taking here locally to make sure that our kids are safe on campus. A couple Saturdays ago, I was at the Hermosa, the Maricosta tour. Dr. Gerger, not to be outdone by Mr. Brady at RUHS, provided a private tour for the Hermosa Valley students. It was really fun. Me and Etienne went. We had a good time personally. They also, I will say, they served coffee and treats. You know, like that was something, you know, so it was a really, really good tour. They walked across the campus. There was also the CIF cheerleading competition going on, which made the environment very girl and very intense. Like it was like, man, I was getting a little nervous. I had my kid with me as a shield. Like, so highly competitive environment. Maricosta is such a beautiful campus. Our kids are so lucky. Someone asked me the other day, they actually on the tour, they said like, you know, which one should I go to, you know, Dr. J? And I said, I think that they're both great schools. We just want you to make an educated choice. I mean, like, and we'll be following up. We're going to have, so there's the This is Costa event that is at Maricosta that I believe is coming up. And so we've been meeting and working with the ASB or their student leadership at Maricosta and Mr. Pestle. And we're going to be doing a This is Costa here. That's going to be the name of the event. So it'll be This is Costa at Hermosa Valley, and it'll be a personalized like a club event, showcasing clubs and activities and electives at Hermosa Valley. I mean, like directly after school in the bowl area. So we're just really excited. We just want to keep on connecting our students with the program for their transition in a way that is meaningful to them. There's an abundance of Hermosa Valley alumni, like at MiraCosta, that is coming and being involved. So every kid that's coming to the This is Costa here is going to be a Hermosa kid that is at MiraCosta. So we're really excited. It's going to be really cool. Then finally, it's kind of been a while, but like it wasn't the blaming, but Hermosa View and Vista won California Distinguished School. And Hillary and I, she's resting up already because on Thursday before President's Weekend, we are going to Anaheim, to the happiest place on earth, to go receive our award. We're going to we got to get the hardware. That's, either it was the bell, now it's a plaque of some sort. I hope it's heavy. That's what I like. So looking forward to receiving our California Distinguished Award, entitled Hermosa View, but it's really Hermosa View and Vista just because of the schools. So very, very excited. That as my final update, and Board President Doug Gardner and I talked about this, is that I just actually checked my phone, and as of now in the Middle East, specifically Turkey, there are 15,000 people who have now passed from the earthquake that happened a few days ago. Just whether you're American or Turkey or whatever, this is a humanitarian disaster, and on a human level, extraordinary and important. I would ask if we just take a moment of silence, just to think about those folks who will have a long road to recovery, and just keep positive thoughts and prayers their way. Thank you. And then I have read up that American Red Cross is involved. So if you're looking to support, that might be an avenue in order to do so. And thank you. That concludes my superintendent update.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. I believe we have a question to my left.
Dr. Johnson, is there recommendations from LA County that Narcan is supposed to be provided to elementary schools?
What I'd like to do is I'd like to wait until we provide board action. And then Sylvia will have an opportunity to address questions.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. I'm going to try to segue after that to the rest of the meeting. I did want to throw in one additional update. On Tuesday for Valentine's Day, Hearts of Hermosa tickets do go on sale. The event is coming up on March 25th. At the Community Center is a first day giveaway. So if you buy your ticket on the first day, you get an awesome Hermosa beanie for their ski. I don't know how to say the words that they're using. Ski après theme. Après ski. Thank you. He's French, so I'm learning things here. So
that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So buy your ticket so you can get your tooth. Your Hermosa tooth. On Tuesday for Valentine's Day. We hope to see everybody there on the 25th. With that, we will move on to board reports. Do we have any board reports from the board? I think, Jen, you have one.
Yeah, we had the Wellness Council meeting yesterday. It was well attended. That group of people is just amazing. A lot of them are people in the field of wellness. So it's really a fun group of people to be around because the idea generation is just amazing in the support. And we have a student from an alumni from, name's Kennedy, who was a Hermosa student last year, but is at the high school, and she's able to come over for these meetings. So she adds a real great context just from a student perspective. So I feel like we're kind of in the zone when she's there. That's just a perspective, but there was a lot of talk about, just thinking through and talking, no action yet, about talking about body image and healthy eating. So it was just a conversation at this point. No action was taken, but just to kind of make people more aware. We did a wellness center tour, and I have to say, if you haven't been over there to see it, I mean, it's like I wanted to burst into tears. I was so happy for these kids that are getting this space. It's incredible, this space, because they're really using it. It is like Starbucks at school. It's like so awesome. They get to just be quiet in there. They can sit on the counter. They can sit in these cool chairs. They can watch this TV. There's activities, and the counselor is there. There's a special space in the back now that the counselor can have her own, private meetings. It's just, kids are coming before school. They're going to come, it's just a cool, really cool space. And I'm so proud of the administration there, and just the counseling department there that has just really taken this ball and ran, it's just an incredible space. So kids are lucky. I mean, this is what school should be for kids. If you were like, what's the idyllic place for kids? There it is. We have built an idyllic place for kids. So great job of hiring those people. And we should feel really proud of being a part of that in some really existential way. They are using, I don't know if anybody got a chance to look at the parent one sheet that is talks about what's happening with social media now, the current social media things, and Kennedy's kind of helping us keep it current. But it is a tool that if you have questions about what app your child is using or should or shouldn't use, or what they're all about, check out that parent one sheet. Super helpful. There's also a very helpful social media contract if you are needing one, and everyone most likely probably needs one. So if you want a good tool, it is also on the website to use, and Jessica is also using it as a tool for parents when they come to her office. We talked about staff wellness. There was a lot of good feedback from the staff in terms of what they would like. And so we're looking into how to fulfill that in a way that is meaningful for them. There was a talk about, just things you don't even think about, how teachers, when they come to some of these trainings like Stop the Bleed, how it can be super stressful for teachers. And so the anxiety of like going into something like that and like their responsibility. So we're talking about how to kind of front load some of what they should expect at some of these trainings, and how to have kind of a back end of some support for them for mental health services for afterwards. There was let me see, what else we talk about, Jason? Oh, the fentanyl movie that's coming up. The one thing you should know, and we should know, and maybe it's something we want to talk about after we do the resolution today, is that that movie can be shown at schools, and the group that's putting the movie on can come and do programming at schools. And I personally think it's great to show it at Beach Cities Health Nights, but I think the real audience is schools. And so I think 8th grade might be a really perfect time period to show a movie like that, so you're prepared and scared as you go into high school. You need to be scared of fentanyl. So I haven't seen the movie yet, but it will be available for all of us to see. That's what was told to me after the meeting. And that is about it for right now. There's lots of good stuff happening, generating from that committee. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. On this side, any board reports? Quinn, Maggie? All right. We will move on to superintendent report and board discussion, starting with R-30-2223, the HBCSD Citizens Oversight Committee 6th Annual Report. Mr. Azad, welcome back.
Has it really been 6? This is the 6th time?
That's what my paper tells me.
Oh, my goodness. All right, well, I'm going to trust your judgment. President Gardner, members of the board, superintendent, members of staff, Steve Ising, chairman of the Citizens Oversight Committee. And I'm going to take your word that the 6th time, I can't remember, of course, sometimes what I had for breakfast. So maybe 6 years. While the citizens on the Citizens Oversight Committee are appointed by the board, this report is made to the citizens of Hermosa as per state law. And if there are any citizens watching electronically, you should rest assured that the money has been well spent and within compliance of state law, not for things such as teacher's salary or supplies or overhead, but rather for bricks and mortar, the capital investment. As you all probably do know, we meet 4 times a year. Your great staff member Paula and consultant Nancy. They provide us with line items of the name of the company, the invoice, what it was for. We get to look at that. If we want to see behind that, they've always been very quick to supply the details that support that. We also, on January the 11th, met with the district's auditors. And because you've already seen that report as well, you know that you guys, once again, got a great audit report, again, because of the good work done by staff. The thing that jumped out at me as we reviewed the report and discussed it was that it was, I believe, some 93%, if I remember correctly, Paula, of the volume was tested by the auditors. That's a very high number for an audit test, but it's one more assurance that the money's been well spent. So that's my short report. Of course, our committee is going to be winding down, just like construction is. I don't know whether we'll probably have a seventh appearance sometime in the future.
You will, yes.
But that may be it. So, you know, we meet once a year, whether we need to or not. Actually, we need to. So I'll take any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Glenn?
Just as thank you for you and the other members, and on behalf of not just the school board, but the community of Hermosa, just providing that level of time, effort, scrutiny, oversight, accountability is very much appreciated, and hopefully builds confidence in our community in these things that we take, these investments we make in our school district, and build support for future investments. So thank you.
Thank you.
Maggie? Jen?
No, I echo Quentin. And then I also just think about the investment in the community is that I think this is just a point of view, but I think I've looked at Zillow around each of these schools, and the investment in the homes around these schools have all risen from the investment we all made as a community in these schools. So I think it's what's good for, you know, we're bringing kids back to Hermosa schools, and it's good for the community as well, for everyone's bottom line. So just wanted to point that out to everyone. So thank you for doing this. And will you continue with this since we still are getting potentially additional money? Will the Citizens Oversight Committee be active on that?
Yes. As long as there's Measure S money, there will be a Citizens Oversight Committee.
Great.
He's not escaping us.
So you're not out. You might be here a seventh and eighth time.
Seventh or eighth time. He's still my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, so welcome you every year. Thank you to you and the other committee members. You all, the people coming on the committee have all played a number of years into doing this, and you keep coming back, you know, out of your devotion to your community. So it's a really honorable and tremendous thing that each of them are doing. And thank you, of course, as well to Paula and Nancy for all the work that they do to make sure that makes your job easy, makes our job easy. We know that there are no shenanigans in any of the reports, and it makes everybody comfortable, everyone in the room here and the greater community members. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Mr. President. See you next year.
Yeah, we will see you then. Moving on to R-31-2223, the equity and inclusion update. Dr. Johnson.
Thanks. All right, good evening, folks. This is the second equity and inclusion update. As part of the equity task force established 3 years ago, there would be regular board updates provided in order to assure that we are taking the necessary steps to implement the equity and inclusion action plan. As the second progress, we have 10 objectives for 22-23. Those objectives are either on target or in development of their progress. It is an annual plan, so there are some things that come to fruition in the spring. Our achievement targets are trained slightly below the progress benchmark, but we do feel that like we are on the mark to have a good year, and we're making good gains and progress with our students that are most at risk. There you see the equity and inclusion plan itself. It begins with community leadership. The decisions that we make are always data-driven. Every meeting, and I know Jen sits on the committee, but every meeting begins with a data point, and then we dive into the committee's work. And our actions there in the blue, assures achievement and wellness for all students. The committee continues to meet. There you see a breakdown of our meetings, and it's not the only topics that are talked about, but I would say those are the most important or the highlighted items. You can see the agenda and the meeting minutes on the Equity and Inclusion website, where that information is held, including a brief summary of the meetings that's done by one of our parents. The FNP, or the Fontes and Pinnell reading assessment, there you see is where a teacher will provide a one-to-one assessment with a book in order to understand how a student is progressing in their reading level progress. We have our next FNP assessment coming up in February through March. Probably they're just getting started with their assessments. And at this point in the year, our teachers are targeting learners that are not meeting standards. The Panorama assessment is happening this week. Panorama is an assessment that measures school climate for diversity and inclusion outcomes, as well as for our social emotional wellness outcomes. We take 3 climate measures per year. One is the Net Promoter Score survey. The second is Panorama, and the third trimester is the California Healthy Kids survey. With the Panorama assessment, we are doing a screen time assessment in schools. So the purpose of this is we had some feedback and concern from our parents last year about the level of screen time that their students participate in, being as technology is a big part of the classrooms today. And so we're approaching this from an inquiry process just to understand the perception of our teachers and students about the level of screen time in classrooms, and then compare that with using our Google Analytics tool to see on average in a period of a week at the same time the survey is taking place, how much students are on their Chromebooks during the course of class per grade level. So our goal has always been to establish data-driven achievement results and to track that progress during the course of the year. As the board well knows, that we won the Golden Bell Award for our achievements and transparent data. What you see here is performance at the preliminary or trimester 1 mark. This is not where the road ends. This is where the road begins and where the work begins. You see that some of our performance levels are below target. I would say that there are a lot of different reasons for that, some of which is when we took the assessment. We took it earlier in the year because our teachers wanted to have access to the data earlier in order to work with their students faster. I would say the biggest difference that you're seeing in this mark is we now have uniform middle school benchmark data that we're tracking. Kudos to the Hermosa Valley teachers who I thought did a good job putting their benchmarks together and correlating their scores. So we have reportable data. I think it was a good first step. And I know that they're going to make refinements during the trimester 2. Here you see a breakdown. And what I would say is about this data is this is data typically the public would not see, nor would our board. It's internal staff data. But it's good to see it for the purpose of the equity and inclusion mandate, because the board and the public can see that this work is being done. The purpose of having multiple assessment marks is in order to make sure that how we assess students, and more importantly, how we teach students, is aiming towards mastery of the standards. And so grades, like benchmarks, should be reflective of communicating progress about, at the end of the year when students take the California State test, are there grades and are there benchmark assessments reflective of their performance on the California State test, which is ultimately standards that they're held accountable as they move through the grades. You can see that there's wide correlations of data there. I would say that we approach this from an inquiry place, and this will make for good conversations with the Hermosa Valley team, and the principal, in order to take next steps. Go ahead and give a slide for me. Yeah, sure, no problem.
How is benchmark defined?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How is benchmark defined? Like benchmark according to what?
Yeah. So an assessment benchmark, you mean like, I would say in common terms would sometimes be called a final, right? You mean like,
Sorry, but what is it being, what's the benchmark coming from? Is from class exams or is it from a different state
Yeah.
assessment?
so some great subjects opted to create their own, you mean like benchmark exam, you mean like for that period, and others use the CASP tool for the progress benchmark. And we did allow teachers, departments to make that decision. And we already know that Jessica told me that some departments have already decided to move over to the CASP benchmark. It just, social science doesn't have that, obviously. Thanks. Here you see the 7th grade data and the related correlations. And again, we're just always looking to see how those numbers reflect off of each other. Something to bear in mind as well too for the CASP performance, that's the end of last year, though it is the same students. I mean, like it's a very different point in time in their progress mastery. Slide. Here you see the 8th grade scores. The reason that you see a NA for the science and social science test for statewide testing is because there is not an exam given at 7th grade for social science and science. Social science doesn't have a statewide test itself. Slide. The equity dashboard, we've been just updating the data as it's come, and Sylvia has been populating that. You mean like as the data comes in, the trimester 1 data is almost complete. We'll be getting, I think the attendance is the last one to go. And then we are now starting in with the trimester 2 assessment data, starting with the FMP or the reading assessment. And so you'll start to see that data populate on the equity dashboard. The purpose of the equity dashboard is at any point in time, you know, as a parent, you mean like, or a community member, you mean like you can click a button and you can see the district's performance. And for the California dashboard is up, something to keep in mind about the California dashboard is that it only reports on the previous year's data. So, you know, you won't see this year's data until next year. And it doesn't report on local indicators such as iReady assessments. They wouldn't provide that. Slide. In the area of professional development for culturally responsive practices, they just completed their professional development session 2. We shared with the board the professional development survey rating on how effective the professional development was. And we did implement the feedback that we received from staff from the last year with Dr. Orange. They have their final sessions coming up in March. We'll have grade level planning time in order to work on something that they learned from the professional development and then receive feedback from Dr. Orange. Slide. So objective 7 is our responsive campuses. There you see the purpose of responsive campuses is in order to create a campus climate that is also culturally responsive and recognizes the individual needs and backgrounds of our students, I mean, and serves them as a whole. We talked about a few things actually just recently, such as Valley visiting the Museum of Tolerance, View and Vista in January. Some of you were present, had the Great Kindness Challenge, which you still see a lot of that stuff up, which is good positive messaging. Hermosa Valley is about to, they just finished their homeless awareness unit. And so it really is just trying to provide, I mean, like more color, more depth to the student experience on campus. And every assembly or school-wide activity we have is linked with our overall goals. You mean like in order to create a more successful school community. Slide. In the area of trauma support, this we took a bit of a turn and recognized that our staff needed support and to build their capacity for traumatic events. We have, due to the assessment that we had over the summer, leaned heavier into safety preparedness. Actually, today there was a vigilance training with Martin Hanneman, who spoke to the board, to train our staff about vigilance on campus. And then you see we have upcoming the signs of suicide training that Jessica Bledsoe reported to the board last year on. Yes, we are working on how we support staff and post these trainings, because what we're recognizing is that these trainings and activities themselves are traumatic themselves, or can be, are stressful. So the Wellness Council, actually it was Equity and Inclusion, came up with the idea to have a puppy party afterwards. So we're getting that off the ground. It is a real thing, and we think it'll be fun. It is a very affordable cost. You'd be surprised because it's for kids' birthday parties usually. And then we're also working on a staff counseling component with one of our community members. So just we're experimenting with things. And I think you got to get out of the box a little bit. In order to be ahead. And so we're going to see how these things go in order to respond to the needs of our staff and our students. Just on a side note too, bringing like a dog or an animal on campus is not unusual. Usually it comes in the form of a trauma response dog. And we've done that with our police officers. So this is just taking it to the next level. Slide. The small group instruction, this is our chase. This is where we're going as a school district. Level literacy is our primary structure. Level literacy intervention is our primary structure in order to do so. I want to give a serious kudos to Sylvia, who wrote an ambitious grant in order to get, speaking as a special educator, the gold standard to teach is well known in the state of California. And so she secured a $12,000 grant for them to come and provide professional development, and then worked with LACO in order to provide coaching for behavior support needs to our classified staff. That is beginning literally now. And I think it's going to be a great to support the students of all needs in our schools. And then something I want to point out with our staff, that on the professional development survey, that small group instruction was the third highest ranked PD desired, which to me shows just a tremendous effort by our staff to want to move towards effective instructional practices in small group. Most of them provide small group instruction. It's just making sure that we're giving them the resources and the tools necessary to facilitate it. And also continue to make that a standard in Hermosa. Slide. Then finally, on the personalized learning front, so this year was exploring opportunities to continue to move our school philosophy, our school pedagogy towards personalized learning. You saw some highlighted examples from Hillary Overbeck about what's happening at Hermosa View. We've worked towards trying to incorporate this into our principal professional developments and trying to better define it for our staffs. And then we really do feel that the next step for that and where we're at as a school is supporting learners of diverse needs, particularly students with special needs, based off of our assessment scores of what is our population that we need to focus on the most. So we have, that's one of the reasons we wrote the grant in the first place, is we recognized we needed to shift with a focus for personalized learning on students with learning needs. Slide. Thank you. It's been, it's pretty remarkable to think about where we were, Maggie, Jen and I on the equity task force, meeting via Zoom for public broadcasts and meetings, and where we are now and seeing the work. And the credit must be given where credit is due. Our teachers and our staff, have just worked incredibly hard to meet the needs of learners. This is something they were always doing. And I think that we as the district are just trying to help with that work and help focus that work. Thank you. I'll take questions.
Thank you, Dr. Dodson. Do you have questions, Jen? You got places to be?
Thanks, Chase. It's a great presentation. Also, it's very comprehensive, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions. One is on objective 4. It's really all the pages. It's kind of a grouped question. So I'm just curious how since this is a process, it's like, so I know the principals look at this information, and does all this kind of this data get down to the teacher level at this point? Are we there yet? Are we sharing this information directly with teachers?
Diana, may I ask you to turn to slide 4, and Jen, I believe you're referencing the tribe benchmark assessment system.
Yeah. So, I know we have it all put together, but I'm just curious as how it's getting disseminated.
So Jessica Bledsoe, and her teachers work to provide us in data sets via Excel, and they've presented on the iReady preliminary scores. FMP is 5th grade specific, so that's not the whole comprehensive campus. And so we met as a team last week in order to review the tribe benchmark data and talk about how to engage staff with that data. And Jessica plans to bring and share with her grade level leadership team as a starting point in order to open up that conversation.
Right. So like if they were watching the board meeting, they would see this right here as one touch point, but they haven't really dove deep. Teachers haven't dove.
I believe only because of timing of when we were able to get this data. Jessica hasn't, because today, which was their meeting day, she had the safety training.
Yeah, no, I know it's a process. So I just was curious where we are in that step. My second question would be, and again, this is a process. I'm not saying, I'm just curious whether then at some point, potentially, does staff, I mean teachers and grade levels or subject specific, do they move towards, or do they do already kind of a standards-based grading system where, if as a parent, I know that if my kid gets teacher X in 6th grade for science, I'm making this up, or teacher Y in 6th grade for science, I can kind of more or less be guaranteed that they're normed with their tests, their expectations. So their A in teacher Y's class is the same. It's going to mean the same as A in teacher ish. I know it's humans. So are we there yet? Is that, and I would say it with like English might be a good example where it's like, you can have like a rubric that you develop as a group, and then you can have like hero papers. And so you're like, this is what an A paper looks like, kids, or a 4. Yeah. Are we there, or is that something we're interested in?
So I can't speak in depth to some of the work that Jessica and her team have done. What I can say is that the structure that Jessica has created for vertical collaboration and then departmental collaboration. So vertical collaboration would be grade levels up and down collaborating with each other, and then grade levels across the 6th grade team, for example, because they share a lot of kids collaborating, and then departmental, right? Like the math teachers meet and such, and then she joins those meetings to help co-facilitate. And so a big part of that work is addressing at-risk learners. I think that's a big place of where they're at right now, which is part of like our focus. Yep. To answer your question in regard to norming grading, I would say that we are trying to move there. I mean, particularly the reason you bring these data sets together is in order to make sure that you're moving towards, like, the things that you're doing, the instruction that you're providing is moving kids towards mastery, right? Yeah. Assessment is not necessarily measuring things that are not the same way that a student's going to be assessed on the state-based test, for example. You mean like their grade in the class should be reflective of how well they would perform on the CASP assessment within reason. Mm-hmm. I would say that the difficulty just by structure at Hermosa Valley is that when it comes to norming assessments, that a teacher in a subject could be the only person that teaches it at the school.
Sure. No, I get that. But there are, like, I'm meaning more like the massive, the English or the science or the math,
So I just, speaking as like being at that Adams Middle School as an assistant principal, and we engaged in a lot of those activities where we normed assessments. One advantage to that is that both teachers, we got them where they were providing the same assessment. And then they could evaluate with each other how they were grading the same assessment. Right. And you don't necessarily have that here. So it doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means that the activity looks different and the meaning of it is less immediate.
Okay, I was just curious if that's, I'm just putting it out there. And then my other question would be on objective 10 with personalized learning. And it's just another step with, so we have all this data on kids. Is there, and we're giving parents information on iReady or on their Fontes and Pinnell. Are we able to, with our system of Power School, put all that data in a Power School or in somewhere where, so, you know, my child's in 5th grade, next year he goes to 6th grade. Will the 6th grade teacher be able to look at what happened in 5th grade via Power School or via one system to personalize my child's information?
Yes, we actually removed that as an objective on the action plan because it was mission accomplished. That data system is up and it is currently functioning. What we found is this year was we had to kind of like, though we trained our teachers, we had to bring them back to the tool and say like, hey, don't forget, I know it's been a long time, but like this is where this information lives. And our goal is that as we continue to engage our teachers with data and knowing how to read all this data that we're producing, you mean like in a way that's, you know, valuable for next day's instruction, that tool and the growth of vertical data that's producing, like now we're going to start seeing a kid, you can see 2-3 years of data, will continue to offer more value to the teachers that have access. As far as access goes, they have the access.
Okay. Because I mean, I just find as a former teacher, you're just like, I have to give assessments at the beginning of the school year. And sometimes it's like, I mean, I haven't been out of school that long, 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And then it's like, I mean, a lot of the same assessments hold true. Their data holds true in September that it was in June 14th. So just trying to get going. I think we're going to make gains when we are able to use this data correctly.
Yeah, a credit to teachers too. I mean, like the old school way of doing this is you pull your classes CUME files in order to like access that stuff. And that is just something we wanted to eliminate and make consistent because this data feeds into like a central area, right? And so every kid has the same level of information. It's not just teacher, you know, grade to grade dependent.
Well, it's great to hear that we have the system and that we're revisiting the inputting of the system. I know it takes a little while.
That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jen. On this side, Mary, Quinn. All right. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Moving on. Are you ready for the next one?
I'm always ready. Thank you.
All right. Moving on then, -32-2223, the facilities update.
My apologies. I'm just making it out.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Thank you, board. So this is a facilities update in order to provide just a look at some of the projects that are on the board action for tonight. As summary, just again, you know, it was highlighted today, but a big thank you to the community. Our key priorities within Measure S have been completed. With that said, there's always more work to be done. And we do have some Measure S dollars that are left, as well as we have state matching dollars that are finally coming late, but they're coming. And we recognized through the safety assessment over the summer that there were some priority safety projects that we wanted to make sure that we take care of as soon as possible. And some of them we needed couldn't be taken care of during the construction of view, so we're cleaning that up now. Hermosa Valley. I like your trigger finger though. That's good. That's good. All right. Hermosa Valley and there's additional Hermosa View projects are targeted for the summer. We'll just give a brief overview of those projects, and those were talked about in November as well too. And we're checking the list. Slide. Thanks, Dana. So this was a list that was presented in November about some of the projects that need to be completed at Hermosa View facilities. The projects that you see in green are those that we're presenting on and proposing for tonight. The projects in black are priority, but they will most likely be coming during the summer. And then the one crossed out, look at that green grass, man. That's beautiful.
Good.
Endless. We're continuing to refine the grass, and Rigo's taking a lot of pride in it. I mean, like it's not done yet, but it's looking real nice between those. If Hillary probably is watching, and we like to joke about it. Slide. So President's Weekend projects. There you see 2 different projects that will be completed. Slide. Hey, can you use the live presentation? This one's not updated. Thank you. Can you go back one more? Thank you. Slide forward. Okay, so there's the President's Weekend projects, and you see fencing being extended at Hermosa View, and then at Hermosa Vista work on the Morningside Gate. Slide. These are the spring break projects. It's much more extensive. It's Hermosa View specific. And then there's one project that's taking place at Hermosa Vista. This is a comprehensive list. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight some of the projects that are just visually difficult to understand and provide just an overview of those. Slide. For the fence on Prospect sidewalk, so what we recognized after the project is that the pedestrian walkways needed to have a guiding fence in order to keep pedestrians walking towards the legal crosswalk. And what we had was some families, no fault of their own, but we even put arrows out, but they were cutting through cars in order to walk across the street, which disrupts traffic flow as well as is unsafe, especially because we have such young, small students entering through. So there will be a black wrought iron fence that's extended along Prospect. Slide. The fence on the playground. So this is the first phase in the development of the outdoor calming sensory area. We're really excited about this. We're calling it the secret garden. So what we found is we have, the younger we go with our students, we have students of very diverse needs, and they're very young. And our students need time out of classroom in order to have their sensory needs met, or to have a break, or just to get out of the classroom space for a minute. And so what we're starting to build in this playground area, over in a more quieter area of the playground, is an enclosed space, that has natural gardening around it. So it feels like secluded and private, while at the same time too, it's still outdoor, and then we'll have sensory equipment inside of it. Slide. We also, as part of our safety review, wanted to make changes at the Golden Gate for emergency egress. Right now that is a chain lock gate. And so the purpose here is that all of our points of entry access from the inside can be opened without requiring a key from the inside. So in the event that someone needs to leave quickly, they have the ability to do so. To do that, you have to extend the ramp out, just because like the outdoor, to have it open outways. So there's going to be some ground and cementing work done there. Slide. Here's a breakdown of the cost. It's a variety of different projects that you see there, and we tried to itemize it. But our total is $82,665. Slide. So the next steps, here are the priority items at Hermosa View remaining, and it's in the 300, 400, and 500 buildings. Those were the pre-existing classrooms, and it needs a carpet and floor replacement, as well as classroom paint. The audio-visual and the HVAC systems are all in and updated there. So now it really is the fascia and having like the interior of those classrooms, I mean, like, be reflective of the exteriors. Slide. Oh, that's funny. Slide. Next steps at Hermosa Valley. There will be a big focus with the state matching dollars on making some healthy updates to Hermosa Valley. And there you see a list of various projects that we would like to accomplish, particularly indoor carpeting and floor replacement. Slide. Is that a delay? I think there we go. So the Hermosa Valley continued. I just want to call one out, which is the classroom blinds, also part of a safety review. That's actually a project that we hope to bring prior to the summer. Right now we're looking at, I'm getting the nod, the thumbs up over there. This is actually being looked at this week. We went through and did a walkthrough, but we have someone out coming in to give us a bid to install standardized blinds and then also window frosting across the entire campus. Believe it or not, as kooky as the Hermosa Valley campus is and its eclecticness, its windows actually do follow a standard. We learned that. So we think actually the job will be more standardized than we thought it needed to be. Slide. Thank you. And at this point, I'll take any questions, and this will be up for board action and the as presented by Paula.
Maggie.
Big thank you to Nancy and Jay for the walkthrough to go over some of those things last week. Thank you for your time. Couple of follow-up questions. What's it called with the gates? What's the name of the bar?
Crash bar.
Crash bar. This is just logistics questions, not really board purview, but like how do we keep kids from like not escaping at recess?
You don't, honestly, and that's the required supervision that's necessary, and it definitely is something that we have had to monitor about, because like there are crash gates. All the modern fencing has crash gates. It is something that we have to monitor because you do have students that will elope.
Is that the technical term?
Yeah.
It's not paywall.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the presentation was really clear. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Jen.
Quickly, just confirming that I know I'm like, this is a silly thing, but I really love privacy screens with like either green or with green that is printed on it, so it is more friendly than black in the. I would love to have the outdoor calming and sensory area have a more calming fence. Do we know yet if we could do that?
We are currently working on the cost amount to have like leafy back covering.
Not actually like 3-dimensional. I just want 1-dimensional.
Yeah, that's real.
Because you can get it 3-dimensional, Jason.
I've seen been in the Del Amo Mall. I've seen it. It looks good. It's like this.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but we are still working on that.
Okay.
And then I know that there was inquiry about having the privacy screen covering be green rather than black. And we did cost value that, and there's no additional cost if the board would like it to be green rather than black.
But before we go green or black, can we find out how much the leaves cost? I mean, just so it's just will feel better. I promise you.
If the it would be an ad cost, and it would depend on how much it was for an ad cost. What I would ask is tonight the board approve the proposal as is. I would like direction if possible on green versus black. And then if we recognize that the additional cost for the soothing
we're calling a calming sensory area. I agree. We should make it blue then.
Yes, thank you.
No, I know, but even just on the fence itself, I feel like it's I don't know. I just think it'd be nicer. It's going to look nicer. It's not a big.
I only just want to clarify, Jen, that so we are actually already trying to get a cost proposal for the secret garden to have the backing that you're describing.
Okay.
I believe there was inquiry about just continuing that backing across all of the privacy screening in the Hermosa View playground. So we're looking at both of those things. You know, the privacy screening across the secret garden area, because it's rather small, that ad costs, I mean, like, will be nominal. I just, the difference, I mean, it could be big because privacy screening is expensive. So the answer to your question is yes, and
you'll check into it.
We'll check into it. I would ask the board tonight to approve the amount for the black or green screening, and then direction, if possible, about whether black or green, pending the soothing screening being cost efficient.
And my second question was just making sure that everyone on the board we're good with it being a black wrought iron versus like a painted color, or just know that it's going to be black. And if anybody has I mean, it can be any color we want it to be.
So the iron at view is black.
Yeah, I'm just double checking, making sure everyone knows that. You might not see it all because then when you're looking at the school, you're not seeing all the fencing. So
summon the ghost of McCall. I believe matching luggage is what we aim for.
Okay, I'm just
which
wanting
is tough because the interior is blue, unpainted, and black. So we don't have a color scheme going.
Yeah, the color scheme is the curbside, but Maggie's absolutely right. On the top deck, the wrought iron is gray and painted.
Okay. Do you have a question? Or do you
Just responding back to Jen.
it's an elementary school, so I just want to make sure we aren't building something that looks a little more prison-like. So that's my only concern. Is
Super industrial.
Yeah.
If we're going to spend money, I'd prefer to spend money on the inside of the school in terms of like getting all of that blue, because we have these black columns that I do find to be really oppressive. That's personal taste, but it's also not in line with anything on our color scheme with our branding book. And so those are just my 2 cents. But nothing I need to give feedback to the superintendent on right now. It's just merely responding to a board member.
Thank you. It is the board's meeting. I'm still looking for direction on that.
Do people have a preference in the privacy screen? Black or green?
Well, this is just the report though, right? We're not giving board action right now.
It's not, but it's
just direction.
Guidance. It's really, guidance, because we still have, we are looking into the IV-ish screening.
I'm supportive of whatever color just feels nice and friendly and school-like. So if we all think green, it's a nicer, calmer color, then I'm very supportive of green.
You agree? All right. I think it's going to be green.
Great.
I already know you. Well, in your question, you told us what you preferred. I already knew your answer. That's why I started over there.
I will follow up with the board about the possibility of the IV, so long as it's cost effective. Any other questions?
I know our friend in the back has a question. I don't know if I can take his question though. Is the issue.
Fine, Peter. Thank you. Doug, do you want to ask me that question?
Sure. There's some, we've gotten some feedback about drainage in the bathrooms, and if we're in Hermosa Valley, and if we are going to be redoing the plumbing and the restrooms there, is that something we are going to be addressing or looking at?
Yeah, that's a great question, a great point. So I've been working with the Student Advisory Council as well as student leadership has provided a lot of feedback about the bathrooms. And then we also look to the Net Promoter Score, where student feedback about the bathrooms.
Yeah.
The thing that we've realized about particularly the main hall bathrooms is that the plumbing there kicks up water, and then water gets on the ground, and there is a drainage issue due to the plumbing within that bathroom. So it is something that we are interested in addressing. We know that we want to prioritize redoing particularly the main hall restroom. The question about plumbing is a question of extent. And we have not had a professional evaluate the extent of the plumbing needs. We have had repairs over the 3 years that I've been here, at least, for Hermosa Valley plumbing, which has been an issue. We've had less issues lately, but the draining as well as the toilets themselves, have created an issue, and then it also gives an appearance of the bathrooms being more dirty than they actually are because wet floors, feet. And it has like a constant appearance of being dirty. So in short, yes. And I would describe it as one of our higher priority items as well, too.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Do you have an additional question?
I have an additional question about athletic fields.
Yes.
And I know we haven't done any bidding yet, but maybe it would just be I'm wondering. So I will probably ask this question at another time. So maybe we could it'll put it in the hopper. I would like to know if we're going to do some cost analysis on whether we could do not just turf, but whether it was just grass and we had, how much it costs to get better grass in there on a regular, and if we had to then plan for reseeding it every couple of years or new grass or sod every couple of years. I'm curious about what those costs are.
We can look into that.
Yep.
Anything else? You look like you have a question, Quinn.
Well, I'm just going to pile in on that since Jen brought it up, and I'm not sure how far off topic we are, but I was thinking about this topic as well, and I've noted that I believe all the Torrance high schools, the Redondo High School, and the Manhattan Beach High School have all put in turf fields in the last couple of years. And I'm just wondering what we can learn from that, whether there's anything we can piggyback on that, because I know there's some questions around whether turf, what pros and cons there are. I assume that some of these questions came up as these other districts evaluated what to do with their athletic facilities. They all landed on turf. So I'm just curious what we can learn from that.
Quentin, if for just reporting back to the board, would it be helpful if we consulted with one or two of those school districts and learned what their process was to determine to get to turf?
Yes.
I do know we will be having a further discussion on these types of things at the upcoming budget workshop at the end of the month.
I will try to get that information prior to that, the board workshop.
Anything else on facilities? All right. Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Moving on to R-33-2223, the English language proficiency assessment results. Ms. Gluck.
Good evening. I'm here to talk to you tonight about our English language proficiency assessment, as well as our English language learners. Slide, please. Our guiding principles tonight do focus on excellence and inclusion. Our English learners fall on our signature programs, specifically personalized learning and achievement for all. Slide, please. In Hermosa Beach, 2% of our population are English learners, 10 different languages. And the nice thing about our English learners, they make significant gains and they do reclassify pretty quickly. Slide, please. Once a new family enrolls in Hermosa Beach, they do take the home language survey. If they answer yes to one of our questions, they do need to take the English language proficiency assessment. That is their initial assessment, and that determines whether they are an English learner or not. There are 4 domains that they are assessed in, and then they are given a performance level. Slide, please. You can see the 4 various performance levels that they will be given, and that determines what their EL performance is. Slide, please. Hermosa Beach is very unique, as you can see. We have 28 EL students. 5 students have already moved out of the district. We have 7 EL students. There are 13 IFEPs and 13 students, or 3 students that are going to be reclassified. And we have 13 that are intermediate. You can see the various languages in our district. We don't have one primary language in our district. We have various learners, English learners. And then you can see the breakdown in the various grade levels that we have. Slide, please. Erin Infacino is our EL coordinator. She provides services to our students before and after school. These are our students at Hermosa Vista School. I was very fortunate to be able to go to this session where the students were given some personalized learning and working with her. They were very excited to work with Miss Infacino, and they are given before and after school intervention. This one was specifically before school intervention, and you can see it's a very small group. They work with her on specific targeted language and improving their vocabulary. Parents do have to opt into the program. Anyone who qualifies as an English learner can participate. And she does monitor their student progress and where they're at. Ms. Infacino also works with parents, teachers, as well as students. Slide, please. In regards to our progress of proficiency, you can see here how our students are making progress. This is our 2022 progress. 64.3 students are making progress and are working really hard to being reclassified. The state average is 50.3. So we are doing really well. You can see the various legend at the bottom, how our students are doing exceptionally well. And you can see where some students are remaining at their level. That's at turquoise level. Slide, please. In regards to CASP, you can see the percentages of our students who are meeting or exceeding and the various levels of EL. Our specific English learners, because there are 11 or few students in that particular category, we cannot report on them. You can see our students who are reclassified, their scores and how they're doing, as well as our IFEPs. Slide, please. In regards to math, we have 11 or more students who have been assessed in math. You can see their score there. We didn't have enough IFEPs in that category, so there is no score there. Our reclassified students are doing very well, and you can see how all of our other students are doing. Slide, please. We do have next steps in how we want to work with our English learners. We want to go ahead and continue working on personalized learning. One thing we did learn this year is that iReady is a plethora of information for us. Next year, we are going to use iReady for our English learners. They have a component that we can use, like the information that Hillary shared. We can use that to target our students as well and use that for our English learners, which then means we can use that at home for our English learners as well, and the families can work on it. So it's a platform that they're familiar with at school, and they can use it at home, and the families will be familiar with it as well. We're going to continue to focus on the small group instruction. Ms. Infacino will work with our families and with our students. She does hold meetings with the families 3 times a year to discuss how students are doing, what information they need, and how she can assist them in regards to making progress as well. She works with our teachers once a year to hold a meeting in regards to instructional strategies to help. And then she also does conferencing with teachers if there's specific questions on how to address student needs. There's additional information that we have. We do have Imagine Learning as a program that we are using this year. And then we continue to use iReady to support our students. And then we're going to continue to support our students as much as we can with conferencing and working with our teachers. Overall, we're doing great because our students are reclassifying at a quick rate. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Are there any questions? Jen? May or Jen, go ahead, please.
Oh, mine's just a wondering, because I feel like Miss Emphasino is everywhere and she does, I mean, I saw her at both campuses, which is awesome. We're so lucky to have her. And I'm wondering, you know, I'm just wondering, yeah, I'm sure she does. Sometimes I'm wondering if she'd be a good person to do like staff PD on personalized learning, because she does it every day, all the time, you know, with SEDI strategies and with different kids and different age groups. And
She does GLAD professional development once a year for the staff.
what is that? Tell me more.
So it's on strategies on how to work with our EL learners.
Oh, great. Okay.
So she does that once a year for all staff.
Great. I just feel like, gosh, great that she has it. And she has like such, you know, tangible tools that she could probably share with so many other people, but maybe it sounds like she does that already. So great job. And thank you for this presentation. It's great to just really dive deep and understand. We have 28 ELs. Like it's good to know the actual number. And then 10 languages, and it's super helpful. Thank you for putting it together.
Maggie?
Yeah, Sylvia, thanks for that. I think Jen and I were on the same wavelength. I'm curious, for special education, we have SELPA, a SELPA that's this way. Is there anything that's like a similar organization for surrounding schools on EL folks?
No.
But there's no formal like gathering of them of how they like.
Not that I know of.
Huh, okay. And then second question is
Maggie, I would just there is an ELD department through LACO, though. You mean like that, where we would seek guidance and support as well. That would be your go-to.
I mean, but the county, I was just wondering if there was like a way to do best practices and challenges opportunities with local districts, because Hermosa is really unique. I have to imagine our surrounding districts are not as unique as Hermosa, but more similar than say a more urban district.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah.
For our math folks, I'm wondering, our EL was at the lowest percentage of grade level for math for that. I'm just curious, is that because our math was maybe 2 slides back, because math curriculum has ended up putting so much more language into the curriculum?
There is more language in the math with the word problems. We do have a different math class in the middle school now. We do have that math collab class that has 2 teachers now in the 6th grade class. That would be an opportunity that we can explore in 6th grade to offer for students, because there is additional assistance in there.
Okay. And then my last question, and I was trying to figure out this question with Jason earlier this week, but maybe this, is there, again, we're talking about a really small sample size of students here, but is there like an average rate of reclassification? Is there like some magic number that it, like we're beating the state in terms of how many students reclassify, but is there like a golden number that like it should take X student this long to achieve fluency? Like, is there a metric on that anywhere?
Well, there's the last 2 years we don't have any data because the state of California did not collect the data because of COVID. So I think we are starting to collect the data in regards to reclassification. The one other thing is when we start reclassifying, we need to wait for the CASP data. And we are also using the iReady data because we need to have a standardized test score to utilize. So we usually start at the 3rd grade level, and then we use the teacher feedback as well as parent feedback as well as grades. So it's a combination of all of those 3 items. So we usually start looking at reclassification when it's appropriate at 3rd grade. And then we usually follow those students for 3 years to ensure that they are doing well before we release them. So we can continue to track that data and provide more information next year on that metric.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I would say, you mean on my end, is that the answer is that we don't know, but we can see if that exists. And on face value, I can imagine it would be a difficult number to provide norming for, because like a student's individualized education plan, which effectively, if you think about reclassification, has subjectivity to it, though we have the LPAC score, it might be difficult to produce that as a metric. But we will, I think to your point, Maggie, about reaching out to neighboring districts about ELL and their programming, that may, if we can't find an answer like through LACO, we'll check in with our neighbors about that and to see if they produce any sort of data that's like that.
Just even support for Aaron on that. But my guess, like where I'm going, there's like 50% for the state is good, 64% for Hermosa is better, right? But like, you know, is the district then just like kind of like, oh, how do we beat last year's scores? Or is there actually like a number that we can benchmark towards that we're like, this is actually really good, that our programs are working, that our interventions are working, that the standards for kids are right? Like, that's where I'm just trying to find clarity.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective with, and I think we can continue to look to see if there is that gold standard. I would say that we're beyond, for our EL population, their size and their performance currently, we're probably beyond reclassification as the metric of choice for us, and purely looking at their CAS performance. I mean, like, because their CAS performance is, though we can't report it publicly, is valid, right? You mean, like, it's enough to be comprehensive with our other subgroup scores, special students with special needs, and the Hispanic demographic. So I would say probably for us that comparison is the number that I would emphasize us to chase, unless we are able to come up with, like, you know, like, hey, this is like the standard for a reclassification rate that you should look at. From my own experience in Redondo, I feel that Lincoln had a reportable population of ELL students, and received a little more supplemental dollars per student than Hermosa does. And I would say that I know for certain that our reclassification rate is faster because we're a little over a year here. So I if that's any point of comparison, granted it's a single school site, but it was a school that had 675 kids. Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none. All right. Thank you, Sylvia. We will now move on to consent. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? So moved. Thank you, Quinn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Consent calendar is approved. With that, we will move on to board action. We will start with Superintendent S-28-2223 of the 21-22 School Accountability Report Cards for Hermosa View, Hermosa Vista, and Hermosa Valley Schools. Ms. Gluck.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the 21-22 School Accountability Report Cards that are published in the 22-23 school year for Hermosa View, Hermosa Vista, and Hermosa Valley School. Just to let you know, we are required to publish Hermosa Vista's School Accountability Report Card. Also to let you know that the CD has some delays in some of the tables. So we will be having to bring some of these School Accountability Report Cards again to you at a later date. But we are required by law to have them approved.
Thank you, Ms. Gluck. Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve them? So moved.
So moved.
Thank you, Quentin. And thank you, Maggie, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Moving on to Superintendent S-29-2223 on resolution number 05-2223 opioid awareness and prevention. Ms. Gluck.
So it's recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution 05-2223 in the matter of opioid awareness and prevention. So we talked earlier this evening about that opioid usage has been in the increase. And so we want to bring a resolution to the board in regards to making it our community aware of what's going on. And so everyone is aware, and that we have some Narcan on our campuses, and that we're training our staff, and just general awareness of what's going on. Our kids.
I wanted to address an earlier question about recommendation about providing Narcan on elementary campuses. So LACO is providing these professional developments with the Los Angeles Department of Public Health. And their recommendation, was high schools definitely. And elementary, district to district. We have decided for the time being to have Narcan present on the Hermosa Valley campus. And we felt that that is appropriate in order to address, our concerns for now, but we would consider it else.
May I ask a follow-up question to that?
Yes, please.
This is a Narcan. I can hold it off if you don't want to have a Narcan conversation, but is there like a response window time? Like I've understood you have to provide Narcan immediately. Is that within like 5 minutes? Like if a kid did get exposed to fentanyl or at Vista or at View, like is there enough time to get the Narcan from Valley to another campus?
So the Narcan should be administered as soon, from the training that we received, Narcan should be administered as soon as possible. So the sooner, the better. So I would say in order to address it, you'd want to have Narcan on that campus. I think it was a few board updates ago. There's a presentation that we can resend to the board that has some information. I don't know if it directly relates to that question, but it provides more comprehensive information.
Are there any additional questions or comments on this item? No? Then do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to Superintendent S-30-2223 on updates to board policies and administrative regulations. Ms. Gluck.
Okay, it is recommended that the board approve and adopt the revisions of board policy and administrative regulations. So as a result of the work that we're doing with fentanyl, we wanted to make sure that our board policy was updated to address that we have Narcan on campuses and that we can administer it in the event that we needed to. So that's what these two, the board policy and the regulations state.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Maggie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're breezing through this. All right. Moving on, SS31-2223 on the Beach Cities Health District Micro Enrichment Grant. Dr. Johnson.
Hermosa Schools plans to have an e-bike rodeo near the end of the school year in June. It'll take place at Hermosa Valley campus. We wrote a grant to Beach Cities, a micro enrichment grant that is accessible to anyone in the Beach Cities, which was funded. And then we also asked the city of Hermosa Beach to co-fund the event. So our e-bike rodeo will be taking place in June, specific date to be TBD, and it will come at no cost to the district.
Awesome. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion? So moved. Thank you, Quinn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to business, B-58-2223, a contract with Rely on Mom's Electrical Services for new fence installation. Ms. Montalvo.
Thank you. Approval is recommended for the contract for Rely on Moms or ROMS for the new installation in the View and Vista project. This is the main portion of it for $77,900.
Thank you, Paula. Are there any questions or comments on this item? We talked about this earlier, but double check it. Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Maggie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Moving on then to business B-59-2223. On the second contract for Rely on Mom's Electrical Services for View School and Vista School fence additions. Paula.
Approval is recommended for this smaller project as well by ROMS. It's for the View Grand Staircase and the Vista extensions for $48,075. And this project is to be completed over President's Day weekend.
It's $4,800.
Yes,
48,000, right? Okay.
4875.
Okay, perfect. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion? So moved. Thank you, Quinn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let's build some fences. Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, she sat through the entire meeting. She will never escape us, even as much as she wants to. We will re-up Nancy. So moving on to B-60-2223, the owner's representative for district capital projects, Paula.
Approval is recommended for the proposal for Nancy Bartolo, consultant, to continue to work for the district as a consultant, as a project manager or owner's representative in capital projects moving forward.
So moved.
Terrific. All right. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Quinn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's of course no question.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy, for everything that you do. As I said, you will never leave us. All right, we will move on to. I will start on this end with Jen.
So I just had it's just putting out there in the ether again. I was watching the State of the Union, and I know they passed a big CHIPS and Science Act recently. And I just wanted I was thinking about that for the future of the kids that are there, because by the time that they get into like high school and college, these are the jobs that they might be going for. So I just wanted us to like read through that whatever bill they passed and understand where can we start writing grants to like bring some of those programmings into our science or our schools at some point. Just it doesn't have to be happening today, but in your free time.
All right, thank you, Jen. Maggie? Nothing? Quinn? Nothing? All right. Two quick things from me. One, thank you for everybody for following up on the last meeting for your flexibility and rescheduling the budget workshop from next week to February 28th. We look forward to seeing everybody there. As discussed, we will have are planning to have a robust discussion around turf and other facilities items in addition to the budget. So it should be a good conversation up from our last board workshop. And just a reminder, if anybody out there is still listening or paying attention, enrollment is open. TK and K, get your kids in and enrolled. You're not going to miss it. It's going to be really tremendous. Full day, right? We're still doing that.
Full day TK and K before and after school daycare. Sign up now.
Thank you. That is all.
Oh, wait, do we remind everyone to do their donation to HBF? That's not part of our spiel too.
Donate to HBF.
Just in case you forgot, because it's pretty easy to forget.
It is. Some tickets on Tuesday. Get your beanie or your toque, as I learned today. And we hope to see you there. All right. Is that with that? Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Somebody. Thank you, Grace. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The meeting is adjourned.
Is it toque? I thought a toque was like the hat you wear in Muslim.
I don't know. A toque is the baby Navi in Avatar 2. That's the only toque I know.